Greetings. I thought we'd get right up to date with word analysis. There is a new terminology that has come into use called a Firenado. So I think we should break that word down. I'm going to refer you to a channel called A Plain Truth for You that shows all the evidence of the California fires and how they are deliberate. So this word Firenado, it is exactly what it is telling you. It is a fire and aid due, because they're using a thing called a LiDAR. And they all, as usual, they're telling you half-truths. They don't know how these fires started, these fire experts. They haven't got a handle on it. No, what they have got is a handle on a laser that is exciting and starting these fires, coupled with many other things. And if you look at A Plain Truth for You channel, you'll see that some of these fires are turning cars on their roofs, not burning the trees, but managing to burn in straight lines through houses and so on. Absolutely ridiculous. And of course the winds coming from the east, not coming from the west. It's ludicrous. So that, I thought I would explain that word. Now, something else that is often talked about is drug addiction. But the one thing that is left out of that entire topic is the very worst epidemic that you'll ever come across, and it is very subtle. I've just pulled up on a website drug addiction definition: a biological process that causes addiction involve the reward pathways in the brain. These circuits provide rushes of positive feeling and feel-good chemicals to reward substance use. The areas of the brain responsible for stress and self-control also undergo long-term changes during an addictive disorder. Now, cast your mind back to when you're out and about amongst people. Now, how many times have you heard an expression like, "Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that program on television tonight," or "Oh, I'm watching this new series. I must watch this. It's on whatever particular day." That is the very worst type of addiction that is going, because that is giving you a corporate script. Now, something else that is often talked about is a one world government and a new world order. So let's look at this the other way round. If there is a new world order, there must therefore have been an old world order. And it is very easy to see. And you can see this if you ever do family history. You may have an ancestor that was quite wealthy, and going by the parish register records, you'll see that particularly in the 19th century, families were rather large, 7, 8, 9, 10 children. And you often had a situation where it would be the eldest son would inherit the majority, if not everything. Now, there's speculation on all presidents of the United States being O negative blood type. I don't know one way or the other if that happens to be true. But there you have your New World Order. Because instead of just having kings that are dictating, you now have a situation where the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and even in the case of Vlad the Impaler, the seventh son getting a chance to rule. These days they're not called kings, they're called politicians, they're called heads of corporations. And they are doing exactly the same thing. They're all having a turn at basically running the show, and we are still the debt slaves. They've made this whole control system very hard to break out of. I haven't achieved it. I have done all I can to lessen it. Something else a very worrying trend I keep seeing is when people are accepting responsibility. Now, this is a term that is often used about accountability, but it is being used in the wrong way. Humanity has destroyed the world, or humanity is contributing to the destruction of the environment. Not exactly true, because what you have is a repeat situation. Yes, you are being misled and you are contributing to it, but it is being led by the corporations. And it is done in a way which I've said before. It's the Victorian jelly beans all over again. Nice, bright, shiny colours. And the shiny coating is the arsenic. You've all been given this lovely technology so you can all talk to each other, which has created this bubble, blinkered situation where you'll see this in public places where people won't talk to a stranger. They won't even wish them a good day or smile. They would rather, through fear, do this blinkered thing and look at this screen. I know this might sound hypocritical because obviously if you're watching this you are looking at a screen, but it's a two-edged sword and we can use this technology to our advantage as well. So to get back to the point, these addictions through television and this misleading, it is compartmentalizing the brain. It is taken to a whole new level when you start getting into the mind control situation. I mean, thinking back to the Diana Spencer murder in the tunnel in Paris, it has been shown that the chauffeur had all the symptoms of being drunk, and that would be caused by a particular trigger word. The CIA, I believe it is, was very good at using LSD in horrendous situations. So you basically wipe the personality of the person and then you can put in anything you want. We're no different from computers and laptops. The brain works in exactly the same way. If you think of it in terms of there being a creator and we are created in a likeness of that creator, then what exactly is a computer if not a variation on the human mind? Now, any computer can tell you what its creator was called by name, when he was born, where he was born, but it won't tell you the purpose behind it any more than we can explain the purpose of the creator. The nearest I can explain that as being is we are fractalized parts of this creator, which is where the whole idea of the Big Bang Theory comes from. And we are here to go through experiences. But think about when you get mixed messages from people, how confusing that can be. Now, take 7.5 billion mixed messages going back when people are being misled. Because you have this new world order. You have this world government already in place. Don't be fooled by nationalities and nations and things. You'll see repeat patterns with this as well. I mean, why has the United Kingdom got a red, white and blue flag, and yet the country that allegedly broke away from it, the United States of America, also has a red, white and blue flag? And if you're in the United Kingdom, it is often said partly as a joke and also used as a subtle divide and conquer technique of British people do not like the French. But funny that the French flag is also red, blue and white. I'm going to really push the boat out here because apparently this is a topic that is very rarely discussed, but it is something that does need to be talked about because it should be discussed because it is disgusting what is happening. Look at the England flag. It is a white background with a red cross. Now what about the reverse of that? What about the white cross on a red background? Funny, a little country that has always remained neutral and is also a centre of banking and a rather horrible corporation called Nestle, and it is the nest of L. It is pure evil. If you look at some of these top Nazis, which were partly the Fall Guys, they got immunity. I'm talking about the likes of Joseph Mengele, who is of Swiss origin. Swiss comes from Suisse, which is Sisters of ISIS. I think you can see where this is going when you look at Washington with the obelisk. You've got another one in London. You'll notice under the coronation throne there is an Egyptian stone as well. And let's think about the United Kingdom. Where was the first United Kingdom? I would suggest that is Upper and Lower Egypt, once these parasites had come up through the Nile from Mauritius and hiding behind various masks and human identities, that they have wormed their way in because they are parasites, as I have said before. Independence Day gave you their intent and motive when the president in the film says, "Can there be peace?" And this alien in this Area 51 scenario, because they do like to reinforce all these things that are put out there, this whole idea of, oh, let's go and storm Area 51. What a lovely way of rounding people up and probably giving them something that years later they will find they are suffering from some sort of cancer or whatever, because, oh yes, these governments will do exactly what their name suggests. They are meant to govern, and they have no qualms about killing what people would say is their own people. And this is another big mistake. These governments and these politicians and these heads of corporations and all these secret societies are not humanity as we know it. They are just masks. They are all actors and actresses on this world theatre. You are given a choice, but for voting, for example, but your choice is the selection that they give you. It is not a free choice. You try and put the money up and get someone totally independent to stand as a politician. But how far do you really think they would get if they even get elected and get the media coverage to get the votes? That's even not counting the vote rigging, especially these days with this computerized collation of data, because data is the biggest sale. It is outstripping oil and computers and everything else, because the internet, it's like every story that you'll ever think of. There are always characters, always key characters in every story. And this is what this entire internet, this use of these LEC tricks was designed for. It is purely to identify who those key characters are. This is why there was presidential alerts sent to people's cell phones. This is why you have tracking devices now being put on every new car. This is why your phone is a tracking device, and it will monitor everywhere you go. It will listen into you. People have mentioned before about how quick the batteries will go down sometimes. Don't forget they have two-way cameras, because they are two-faced, like a lot of these eagles that you'll see on flags. I know this is going all over the place with this one, but I'm just trying to join the dots here and trying to explain what we are really up against. Now, there's another big area, people talking about trying to wake other people up and they're not seeing it. Well, no, they won't see it because their minds are corrupted by the media. And I'm not just talking about the mainstream media, because don't be fooled, because when it is said about doing your own research, what are you going to use? Most likely it is going to be through a computer, which is all controlled, of course, so you'll only see the bits they want you to see. But it is like everything. There is a higher force involved here. In the days of pirates, there is talk of the black spot. Well, that's exactly what these electronic devices are. Before you switch them on when there is light, they are black scrying mirrors. I'm not saying that the technology itself is evil, but the way it has been used, and it is being used against us, definitely is. You have to stand back and not react from all these things and see the bigger picture to everything. If you want to see the big screen, that is the big screen to see. Because you will find this repeat pattern over and over again. They have given you this technology with these mobile phones. And of course, it is done in such a way that the signal is not satisfactory. So you'll want something better. So, oh, they've got the answer for that. They've got 5G. This is jelly beans all over again. And I would suggest this is a repeat pattern that goes back even to the plague, being the chemical warfare that was inflicted on humanity, because it's very vague how this plague started. I'm a poet there, vague plague. But that's exactly how it is, and you'll find this is a repeat pattern. Oh, there's an outbreak of this. Oh, we have a vaccine for that, but don't worry about the side effects because we'll come up for another vaccine for that. And all the time they're poisoning you in every possible way. I mean, convenience food is another one. Yeah, have a microwave meal. It's radiated and you're then putting it in your body. Take a vaccine, take the formaldehyde, take the aborted fetal tissue, take the animal parts into your body. That's really going to do you a lot of good. Think about the circular reasoning. If somebody has had a flu vaccine, why are they worried about somebody who has not been vaccinated? Because surely if they have had a vaccine, they are protected from it. So what are they getting scared about? Think also about this push for free flu jabs. These things, as we know, cost money. So what? They don't give things away free. There's a few things to think about there. And I hope that you'll share this and get this message out. There are going to be a lot of people out there who will possibly look at this and say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist, he's nuts. But prove me wrong. I'm not the only one saying this. There is an awakening, there is a growing consciousness that is coming to light. And that is exactly what we're doing. If we want to expose this darkness, we need to shine the light on it. Plant some seeds with people, just give them one bit of information, but don't bombard them and overload them with information. Take, for example, the Kennedy assassination. You've only got to think about the death sentence when Kennedy said, the public abhor secrecy. Well, that is what is behind everything. It is a mask and secrecy. It won't come out in the open. We have to shine the light on it and flush it out. It's a slow process, but we can do it. Another thing that rather unpleasant is coming up at the end of this month is a thing called Halloween. I think I've suggested this before. Well, Hallow means all souls. Ween is taking away from a mother. And I'm suggesting that what we're talking about here is Mother Earth. They are weaning us away from our nature and where we should be in contact with and what we should be having respect for. It's all very easy to say we have a plastic problem, but how many of you are actually changing your shopping habits and looking at alternative ways of shopping to reduce the amount of plastic? Because there are a lot of things we can do. We are co-creators and we can create the world around us quite easily just by making simple changes. I talk to a lot of people, particularly on Messenger, from being an outside point of view, and I can testify that once you show a person something from a slightly different perspective, it can change the whole way that people think about things. It is very easy when you're in the centre of something to not see from an outside perspective. And this ties in neatly to the geometry, because you need to see the centre point, but you need to see it from all angles, all angles. Because when we can see not just the centre point, the point of everything, but we can also see from those other 360 points and have all-round vision and consider everything from every angle, then we have the big picture. Not saying it's easy to do, little steps. the big problem with all of this is trying to quantify and explain it all to people in one simple sentence, and this is all being geared up through this complexity to make that almost impossible to do. People have been brainwashed by education, by media. Don't forget, on top of that, look at the way the working hours for those that still have jobs are going. They're too tired mentally to even take and absorb this information in. They'd rather just watch lazy entertainment, the superficial, the processed. These are all things you need to very carefully consider. Anyway, I don't want these videos to be doom and gloom, because there are big changes coming, and it is happening. The thing with the positive side, it is not, shall we say, the instantaneous, like in, let's think of an example here, Spider-Man, where he's bitten by a radioactive spider and suddenly he's got these superpowers. You all have superpowers. As I suggested on the last video, the person that suddenly has this superhuman strength to lift a corner of a car up to save somebody being crushed to death by that vehicle. That's just one example of it. Never underestimate the power of words. Once you understand how the words work, and the words are a series of glyphs, it is a language of darkness, this alphabet, this alphabet. But everything is duality, because we can flip things over and show it from a positive side as well. We have duality within us anyway. We always have the power of choice. You can choose to be benevolent, be no violence, or you can choose to be malevolent, male of violence. That choice has always been yours. The problem is when you are misled. That is where the discernment and the inner knowing comes from. Nobody can really teach this. You have to find it for yourselves. It is a case, as I've said before, that often quoted saying, if you want something done, get off your ass and do it yourself. And that applies spiritually and mentally as well as physically. Because we are not here to carry anybody. We are here to do our own inner work. That is the true work. To find the light within each and every one of us. That is our purpose, our soul purpose. Thank you very much.